Well, we've got Australia's first lobbyist PM. Remember the Parliamentary Sports Club? How they kicked David Pocock, the former captain of the Wallabies rugby union side, out of the Parliamentary Sports Club? Well, good work by Johnny T and Ronnie Salt. The Parliamentary Sports Club has just been registered as a lobby group. And guess who? Guess who is the president of the Parliamentary Sports Club? It's Albo. So, Australia's Prime Minister, Anthony Albanese, is the head of a lobby group. You couldn't read about it. Well, you couldn't have a few years ago, but now you can. There you go. Sports bet influence, the influence of the gambling lobby in Australia. Now, there's a lot of scams around this week. Australia's getting invited, they say, to join the military wing of Donald Trump, yes, the Donald's real estate deal in Gaza, the Gaza Riviera. The former ABC correspondent Jonathan Green had the scoop on this one in the Good Nightly. How bizarre is that? Here we are, off to join the Donald. Maybe the ADF is talking to the Pentagon about it. Richard Marles will no doubt pin the ears back. How lovely. Another war. Because they're breaking that ceasefire agreement already, of course. That's done and dusted. And Lebanon this morning as well. They broke that one again. Now, despite all this, well, by the way, most people will say, shall we go to war in the Middle East? Definite no. Meanwhile, Chris Minns, good old Chris Pokey Minns, the Premier of New South Wales, he'd introduced into Parliament draconian anti-protest laws, and they backfired. Yes, the Supreme Court of New South Wales ruled against them this week. What else have we got here? Oh, the government sheepishly backed out of its feeble yet significant effort to retax, the superannuation accounts of wealthy superannuants of the rich. That's a yes for billionaires, a beauty. Now, this was a backflip with a double pike, as Michael Pascoe put it this week. It was one step forward, one step back, and one step to the side. And yet again, evincing the power of lobby groups in Australia, this time the rich lobby. If it's not the property lobby, if it's not the mining and fossil fuel lobby, if it's not the Zionist lobby, it's the rich lobby. They'll get you every time. So they backflipped on that. Jim Chalmers was crestfallen, obviously, because Anthony Albanese had overridden him on that one. And so it is that high valuation superannuation accounts will still be taxed in a very small way, on top of all the lurks and perks they have anyway. Yes, the rich lobby wins again, and the budget, according to initial back-of-envelope estimates, will be down about $20 billion as a result of that. Thank you to the rich lobby and the acquiescent politicians that we have elected to do that job, deciding on policy. Scomo, well, it's lovely to have little Scomokio back in the picture. If there's a gravy train, if there's a very large pulsating gravy train, Scomo is on it. Don't you worry about that. AUKUS in space, he's everywhere. And now Scomo has just registered as a lobbyist for Saudi Aramco, the US $2.5 trillion fossil fuel company, Saudi Aramco. Come on down, Scomokio, the lobbyist. Chrissy Minns, more of the same. So it came out last week that police had deliberately inflated the number of anti-Semitism incidents in Australia. Fancy that. Inflated anti-Semitism incidents? Oh, what a thing. Now that led to Chrissy Minns and, of course, the Dural caravan bomb hoax, the biggest terrorist plot in Australian history, which turned out to be not. So he brought in draconian anti-free speech and protest laws in the wake of that. And now the Supreme Court has junked it. So there's an appeal going on there, I think. But yeah, the good old ADF preparing to do a deal to go to the Middle East. Boots on the ground, as the Nightly put it. Boots on the ground. This week now, as the bodies emerge from the rubble and the tortured and maimed prisoners come back from the Israeli jails, the Palestinians, not much coverage of that. Funny that. Not much coverage of those hostages, the 9, 10, 11,000 Palestinian hostages, probably most of them taken without charge, chucked in jail, tortured, and gang rapes came out today, gang rape evidence. So we know who's doing the raping and the torturing, that's for sure. That came out. There's been a litany of ceasefire breaches, and there's even evidence, according to the Gaza medical crew, of harvesting of human organs. So the cover-up will continue here, as per our last video, but there has to be some comeuppance here for these horrendous, horrific war crimes. So, time to show some testicular fortitude, Albo. Now, we don't know whether Canada will be sending an international stabilisation force, which is the euphemism for boots on the ground, as part of President Trump's Gaza peace plan, although the Albanese government is yet to commit to the idea, according to this story. But he's going to have the acid on him to commit to the idea when he turns up at the White House, because finally, after many months and much whining in the Murdoch rags, Albo is going to meet the Donald, probably. So let's see how that goes. Let's see how badly we come back from that one. But there was good news this week, however. There were measures to stop billionaires scamming elections, as per Elon Musk with his Twitter X influence in the US, getting the Donald into the White House. The amount of money the billionaires can contribute to election campaigns has been cut, and that's a good thing. Although, really, there should be no money in politics. There doesn't need to be. We pay them anyway, these politicians, and they don't need it to advertise their policies because, of course, advertising is now free. It's called Twitter, it's called X, it's called Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram. So there's no reason anymore. In the old days, the political parties used to say, oh, we need the money, we need to raise money from donations, political donations. We just call them bribes. We need to raise this money because we can advertise and say what our policies are. We can take out a full $30,000 page ad in the Sydney Morning Herald or The Age. You don't need that anymore. We've got Twitter. So there is no case for political donations at all. Not that they're doing anything about it. They always mumble about it in opposition a bit, but nothing ever happens. Now, you probably didn't see it. What's the scam with poverty in Australia? ACOS, the Australian Council of Social Services, came out this week with a new report on poverty in Australia. It's 1 in 7 now. It's about 3.6 million people live below the poverty line. So poverty's on the rise, but of course that doesn't really make headlines. There's more important things than that, isn't there? Like Linda Reynolds and Brittany Higgins. Yes, Linda. Linda sued Brittany for defamation. That's been a mess. And on top of that now, she is demanding a parliamentary inquiry into the Mean Girls, as the Israelian that is, Rupert Murdoch's flagship newspaper in Australia. She's demanding a parliamentary inquiry into the Mean Girls. The Mean Girls being Penny Wong and Katie Gallagher. Mean girls. They've got the Hollywood title in there to sell this parliamentary inquiry for Linda because they love nothing more than sticking the boot into Brittany Higgins. That's what they do. That's their thing. So parliamentary inquiry into the Mean Girls. There you have it. We certainly saw that in the media, if not the ACOS report. What's the scam in the courts? Well, the courts, the Zionists were locking horns with John Keane and Nick Reimer and Sydney University, the three counterparties, this week in the federal court in New South Wales, where they're claiming that this is the Zionist academics, just another lobby group, claiming that they've got hurt feelings because of anti-Semitism by Keane and Reimer. Keane and Reimer, of course, are saying no, criticism of Israel, criticism of genocide is just proper political discourse. It is not anti-Semitism, and it will be historic whichever way this one goes, because they're seeking to relitigate the events of October 7, which are pretty dodgy anyway. The official narrative is dodgy, although they're still sticking to their story, the Israelis, but no inquiry there. And yet this is being litigated in an Australian court by the Zionists trying to muzzle dissent. So where that's up to, that was held for 2 days, and the judge has got to decide how narrow to make the trial, whether to accept arguments over all this stuff. And there was a real disappointment for Mary Kostakidis last week because the court said, yes, a lot of this stuff is admissible, and therefore it's going to be a long and expensive court case. So there you go. Sydney University's trying to have it knocked out on behalf of Nick Reimer, the whole thing. We're tempted to give it to Ricky Marles, the Defence Minister, again, because, you know, the Scam of the Week, prestigious Scam of the Week award. But of course, when you think about it, the deal hasn't been done yet for the International Stabilisation Force. And so it should go to Albo yet again. King of lobbyists, Prime Minister of Australia, and President, in fact, of the lobby group, which is the Parliamentary Sports Club. Welcome to Lobbyland. Now, thank you so much to our silver sponsor, Ian Melrose of Island Optical and Optical Superstores, for helping us pay journalists for our content and keeping this dream alive. Thank you, Optical Superstore and Island Optical. Fantastic. Now, please like, share and comment in the section below. We've got some big yarns coming up this week, some fantastic stuff. So stay tuned on the website, michaelwest.com.au, and you can see us on all channels. Thank you.